Professionals. It's another episode today, and it promises to be an educative, informative, as it used to be, rather. I take it again. As it used to be on the program 60 Minutes with Professionals. I'm not alone in the studio today. I'm also joined by two of my favorite automotive experts.
Go from I'm not in the
Okay, I'm not in the studio alone. I'm joined by two of my favorite automotive experts at the moment. I said at the moment because some people might just take the wheel later. All right, so I'm joined by PA and TBO. By PA and TBO, I mean Patrick Alagi and Tokwe Bukola Ojo. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
You guys are looking sharp in your gear. This is beautiful. Where's mine? All right, today we're going to be discussing preventive maintenance, and it promises to be a very, very exciting one. Okay, so you can also join the conversation via our social media platform, which is www.facebook.com/AutoGigNG. On Instagram is at AutoGigNG. On Twitter is at AutoGig. Or you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is AutoGig TV. All right, so Patrick, I like to start with you every time. So what do we really mean by preventive maintenance?
All right. Thank you very much, Larry. As we all know that there is a common saying that says prevention is better than cure.
Very well.
Now, the way it is with humans, it's the same way it is with our equipment. Our vehicle, automobile, is an equipment as well. So, if you do not want to spend so much money when the vehicle eventually breaks down, it is better for you to prevent that occurrence. So that's why preventive maintenance is something that we should not joke with.
Okay.
As far as automobile or vehicle is concerned. Now, preventive maintenance is has to do with things that are subject, especially things that are subject to wear and tear in the vehicle. You know, starting from your normal oil change and your brake pads,
Okay.
your drive belts, your timing belts, your transmission fluid replacements, your power steering fluid replacements, your fuel pump as well, your clutch mechanism, clutch plate and disc, and so on. There are so many parts in the vehicle that needs preventive maintenance. The whole idea is that you don't wait until it breaks down, because if it breaks down, it could cause further damage and you spend more trying to fix the vehicle. Wow. So, and all these items have what we call service or repair interval. All of them have lifespan because they are all subject to wear and tear, whether you like it or not. They are not designed, most of those items are not designed to last forever. So instead of you to wait until your timing belt cuts on motion, which will in turn bend all the valves, damage the engine, it is better for you to replace the timing belts before it cuts on motion. So that is what we call preventive maintenance.
Okay, it's just like saying you're going for medical checkup. Definitely. So that's why you have to take your cars for preventive maintenance. Very well. So how do we go about preventive maintenance, TBO? How do we go about it?
Thank you, Larry. The first thing is to make sure that you keep record of your maintenance schedule. For some people that buy the brand new vehicles,
okay,
they will tell you that after the first 1,000 kilometers you bring it for inspection check, and after then another 5,000 kilometers, depending on the maintenance intervals that are specified for the vehicle.
Sorry, if I may ask, what are the why these kilometers? Why do they check after this number of kilometers?
Yeah, it's depends on the design of the vehicle.
Okay.
And secondly, it also depends on the based on the manufacturer's recommendation You understand? So you have to follow through. It's also a function of the kind of materials that are used uh, to to carry out the maintenance. For instance, now vehicles that you service using semi-synthetic oil will definitely not go more than 5,000 kilometers before you service it, or maybe 3,000 miles. So, but if you use a fully synthetic oil, so you can say 7,500 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers, depending on some other other indices. For instance, depending on the terrain at which you use the vehicle, if you're driving your vehicle in a dusty area, you might need to service your car faster than when you compare it to somebody using it in a nice environment. However, during this particular period, you have to follow it religiously to make sure that your car is in perfect shape. If you don't follow your maintenance schedule properly, he was talking about the timing belt and code the other time.
Yeah.
Some people, I've seen people that they bought a used vehicle and they started driving that vehicle. The vehicle has already done 100,000 kilometers, or probably maybe 80,000 kilometers, and like a Toyota for an example. And probably maybe the person that was using the vehicle initially hasn't changed the transmission oil. Chances that the components in the transmission, the gearbox now, will begin to fail because the oil will have reduced the quality of the oil will have been reduced, and if they have serviced it at 60,000 kilometers, then you will have protected the gearbox. That's why some people will service their gearbox and after then the transmission starts misbehaving.
Oh, wow. All right, that was very enlightening. What are the expectations of preventive maintenance?
Yeah, thank you once again, Larry. Okay, first and foremost, I would like to list the items that is always due for preventive maintenance, because a lot of vehicle users actually don't bother about them until they fail, and it's always very dangerous when these things fail. Now, it is very common for people to drive their vehicle to a workshop and say, oh, change my oil for me and my oil filter. In fact, I've seen people that does their oil change. I have the money. It's not just oil and oil filter. In fact, even when you tell them that the interval is too short,
small, yeah.
that they should increase, they say, no, it's just oil filter. That is the best that they can do. Now, sometimes, okay, when the brake is not performing well, it is easy for you to know that, oh, fine, you apply your brake and the brake pedal is just so free. Next time you go to the workshop, you tell your mechanic, please, can you check my brake pad for me? But there are items like your timing belts, you may not even know, because the timing belt is enclosed, it's covered. You won't know. So it's very, very, very dangerous. So now the thing is, for items like timing belts now, depending on the manufacturer, it is between 80 to 150,000 kilometers. It has to be replaced, depending on the manufacturer, between 80,000 kilometers to 150,000 kilometers. So my advice is that if you just bought a used vehicle, a Tokumbo car, and the mileage is about, say, 100,000 miles, and 100,000 miles is 160,000 kilometers, right? Or probably the mileage is, say, 50, 60,000 miles. For majority of the vehicle that comes from America is graduate, the speedometer is in miles per hour. So, and by the time you see that it is around that, you're not sure if the timing belt has been replaced or not, I will advise you to take off the timing belt, put a brand new one, and start counting 80,000 kilometers from that moment. It is very, very important. Now, something like clutch mechanism, your clutch plates and your clutch disc, for manual vehicle, it is subject to wear and tear as well. A lot of people, they will drive their vehicle and the vehicle will break down and they'll be finding a way to tow the vehicle to the workshop. because of the issue of clutch system failure. Now, for most light vehicle, small sedan car that is manual, between 60,000 kilometer to 80,000 kilometer, you should start thinking of replacing your clutch system. Although that depends on your way of driving. Some people drive on clutch. So if you're driving on clutch most of the time, the clutch will wear out faster than those that don't drive on clutch. But whether you're driving on clutch or not, each time you depress your clutch pedal, a level of wear, is affecting that clutch plate, clutch disc, and even the release bearing. So if you're driving your vehicle, no matter how expert you are with the manual transmission, you should know that between 60 to 80,000 kilometer, that clutch system may fail. So always prepare to replace the clutch system or to overhaul your clutch mechanism within that mileage. Then we look at your drive belts. Now, your drive belts, before now, there are some vehicle that has some engine that has several drive belts, about 3 or 4 drive belts, because it is known as auxiliary belt. It is the engine that powers those components that is connected to the belts, right? Now, you have several belts. You may have a belt connected to the engine pulley and the alternator. You may have another one connected to the power steering pump. You may have another one connected to the AC compressor, So if any of those belts happen to cut, right, that particular components that the belt is driving will not function at that moment. Assuming it is AC compressor belt that got caught, your AC won't work. Okay. If it is power steering belt that got caught, power steering pump will. But for most modern cars, there is a single belt that is used, and the belt is most time they call it serpentine belts. A single belt. Serpentine belts.
Serpentine.
Yeah, so it's a single belt. So that belt drives all the rollers, all the motors, and all the attached components to the engine. Now, if the belt happens to cut on motion, it will cause so many things. It drives the water pump as well. If it cuts on motion, your water pump will not pump, engine will overheat. The steering, because it drives the power steering pump, mostly if it's an hydraulic power steering system, your steering will be so hard, you won't be able to steer the vehicle. Now, even the AC will not work. So many things. And the belts may not be, belts that is not so expensive, but if you did not replace it as at when you're supposed to replace it, and it gets damaged on motion, it could cause so many problems. So, like for your drive belt or your auxiliary belts, you look, say 20,000 kilometer, but at the same time, anytime you take your vehicle for routine service, always have your mechanic check the belts, at least to check for traces of crack, to check the level of wear of the belts, and so on. So it is very, very important. In fact, I know people that keeps those belts, especially that drive belt, they always have extra in their vehicle, because it could get damaged at any moment. Then even your fuel pump too. Your fuel pump too, no matter how original it is, between 60 to 100,000 kilometer.
Wow.
Between 60 to 100,000 kilometers. And if you look at the drive, in the way we drive in our normal movement in this country, we say you do 20,000 kilometers in a year. If you're not traveling most time, 25,000 kilometers, which means that between 3 to 5 years, your fuel pump. So, but a lot of people will keep on driving the vehicle until the fuel pump packs up, and the vehicle breaks down, sometime in a very dangerous area. So it's very good we know when to replace some of these parts that are subject to wear and tear.
Okay, you also mentioned something about routine, so we'll come back to that. We'll address that later. TBO, do you have anything to say about this so far?
Yes, when you were talking about we usually drive a vehicle covering about 20,000 kilometers in a year. The truth is that if you drive your vehicle in Lagos, if your speedometer reaches 20,000 kilometers in a year, the engine has actually covered about 30,000 or 35,000 kilometers because you have spent a reasonable number of hours in the traffic. Wow. You know, when the vehicle is not moving, the speedometer will not read because it reads with the wheel speed. So now, during that period, your engine is running, the pistons are working, the oil is being subjected to it, and during that period. So that's why your preventive maintenance is very key. You understand? So, and that's why I said you have to follow it religiously. Brake pads are there. Some people will say, okay, since I started driving this car, I've not opened the bonnet. I always laugh because you are putting yourself at risk. Preventive maintenance actually starts from you before you drive your car out of the house in the morning. When you open your bonnet and you're sure that there's enough fluid in the expansion tank, in the oil is gauge and everything, all of them, you are doing that to prevent any breakdown. Because if you notice anything from there, then you can take it to the workshop for it to be fixed.
All right, thank you very much. So talking about routine, so what is the difference between routine maintenance and preventive maintenance?
Okay. Routine maintenance is most time they are more basic. It's something that you just have to do, especially your oil filter, your air filter too is part of routine maintenance.
Okay.
I can say your wiper blade too is part of routine maintenance. Most time when you're topping up of your brake fluid, topping up of your power steering fluid, they are part of routine maintenance. Oh, you know that each time you're going to workshop, you want to change your oil and oil filter. By the time you mostly routine maintenance is followed by service reminder sticker.
Okay.
Now they will tell you, oh, you service your engine now, it's either 3 months or 5,000 kilometer interval. Do you understand? So it is routine. And by the time you're taking your vehicle back to the workshop, they are replacing your oil filter. Then they are checking other things like your brake pads. Okay. They're checking other things like your air filter. Even your spark plug might even be part of routine maintenance. Even though the interval is it has a more longer service interval than the oil and the oil filter, but they are still part of routine maintenance. It's quite different from preventive maintenance.
Actually, I would say routine maintenance is a subset of preventive maintenance. You understand? Because preventive maintenance, most of the time, preventive maintenance may not be routine. You understand? But routine maintenance they are a form of preventive maintenance.
Very well. So during preventive maintenance, what are the things to watch out for? What are the things that we are likely to look out for during preventive maintenance? Patrick, you want to say something on that?
Okay. First and foremost, depending on the level of service or maintenance you want to carry out, like I said, depending on the level of maintenance you want to carry out, you want to look at, firstly, everything that has to do with the engine performance. You look at your oil, you look at the oil filter, you look at the brake pads, you look at the air filter, you look at the spark plugs, you look at the wiper blades, then you look at the drive belts, even your tensioners and your rollers, they are subject to wear and tear as well, Now,
sorry, I'm sorry to cut you. Is fan belts the same as drive belts? Or are they different?
Well, I think yes. I think I would say that. Let me say they are the same. I'll tell you why. In those days, people call it fan belts
Oh.
because the kind of engine that was designed in those days is that without the fan, it's just you have you have a pulley attached to the engine directly. Then belt is connected to it. So once the engine turns, the the fan turns. But today, you don't have, for most vehicle, you already have belts now for most modern vehicle. It's either the fan is electrical fan being controlled by a relay or a fan module, or it is a viscous coupling fan.
Wow.
That has some kind of fluid mechanism, thermodynamics, and so on inside the coupling. You understand? So if you hear fan belt, please, it's still the same thing with the drive belts.
So
whoever says fan belt,
you just said I was born in those days.
whoever says fan belt is still trying to imply drive belts.
Oh.
So you want to look at all that, you want to look at all that. Then you want to look at your tank cleaning, because one of the things that keeps the fuel pump, that makes the fuel pump last longer, is cleaning the tanks, your fuel tank. You understand? So what I recommend is at least every 15,000 kilometers, you should try and clean the tank. By the time you drop the tank, the fuel pump is inside, you have fuel strainer, sometimes you have fuel filter. You clean the filter, you clean the tank, you clean the strainer. It helps to prevent the to extend the lifespan of the fuel pump. So all that preventive maintenance. I think TBO can add to that.
Okay, so you want to add something to that, TBO?
Yes. Well, it's also very important that you get more acquainted with your vehicle.
Very cool.
You understand? And you have to keep record of all this maintenance. For some vehicles, even brake pads, if you fix your brake pad, there are some vehicles that have brake pad sensor that will tell you that, okay, you can still do 2,000 kilometers with your brake pad before you change it. But for most vehicles, you don't have this sensor. So you should also take note, okay, I serviced my car 2 or 3 times, I've done 15,000 kilometers, my brake pad has not been checked at all. Although when a vehicle goes to the workshop for maintenance, it's important that, for instance, in AutoGig workshop, what we do is we carry out 360-degree check. So we check everything on your vehicle. We tell you the ones that are due for change, the ones that you have to prepare to fix, probably maybe in the next 1 or 2 maintenance. So it's important you check everything, including your headlamps, your trafficators, and brake lights. All those things are very critical.
All right, thank you very much. In case you're just joining in, this is AutoGeek TV, and my name is Olarewaju Adeshoko. We'll be talking, and we have been discussing preventive maintenance. We'll go for a short commercial break now, and when we come back, we'll go straight to questions. So in case you want to forward your questions, you can do that by our social media, by doing that on our social media platform, which is www.facebook.com/AutoGeekNG, or you can go also on Instagram at AutoGeekNG. On Twitter is at AutoGeek. And then you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is AutoGeek TV. We'll be right back.
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up.
Alright, welcome back. It's still AutoGeek TV, and my name is Olarewaju Adeshoko. We are still on the program 60 Minutes with Professionals, and I still have in the building my favorite guest at the moment, TBO and PA. Chokwe Bukola Ojo and Patrick Alagia, and we'll be discussing preventive maintenance. Alright, gentlemen, last week we discussed vehicle fuel system, and so we had a question that we couldn't take last week. I would like us to take it now. It's coming from Shane Jason on Facebook. It says, a full tank pressure sensor, is it the same as a vent pressure sensor found close to the charcoal canister for a Honda Accord 2008 EXIV.
Right. Thank you very much, Jason. Okay, the fuel tank pressure sensor is quite different from the vent pressure sensor. Completely different. Yeah, the fuel tank pressure sensor is not common in all vehicles, but most vehicles still have vent pressure sensor because almost all cars has the canister, charcoal canister. Almost all cars has charcoal canister because it's for the evaporative emission control system. Now, the fuel tank pressure sensor can be found mostly on top of the fuel pump. It measures the pressure in the tank.
Okay.
Whereas what the vent pressure sensor measures is just like the return vapor. You understand? So you have a vent control solenoid. Once the solenoid is opened, the vent passes, then the vent pressure sensor will measure that vent pressure sensor. So there are two different things entirely. One is measuring the return vapor coming from the fuel tank, while the other one is actually measuring the pressure within the tank. So they are different.
Okay, so let's go through the questions for today. A lot of questions have been rolling in right now. So it says, good evening, gentlemen. Femi from Apapa. I drive a 2012 Toyota Tacoma. Anytime I go through road bump, I feel shift from my rear of the vehicle. Please, what could be done? What could be the cause of this? Can I run through that again? Good evening, gentlemen. Femi from Apapa is my name. I drive 2012 Toyota Tacoma. Anytime I go through road bump, I feel shift from the rear of the vehicle. Please, what could be the cause of this?
Okay. Femi, you might need to check a couple of things, and I think it's common to most vehicles. If your rear suspension is faulty, and you have to start the check from your shock absorbers. If any of your shock absorbers has failed, chances are that when you go through speed brakes or whatever, the vehicle will shift from behind. And also, if your tires are overinflated, you could feel that also. So probably maybe when you look at the suspension and check your tires, if they are okay, then you take it for camber setting to be sure that the rear tires are properly aligned.
Okay.
So there are a couple of things that will cause that. But when you check through these three things I talked about, which is your suspension, your rear suspension, the condition of your tire, and the alignment of your rear wheels, you understand? So within these three, you should be able to find a solution. But you also need to also consider if the vehicle, it could result into different things that people will be experiencing and they'll be wondering.
All right, so Patrick, you want to say something, or we can move to the next question?
Yeah, okay. Just to add that for a layman that is not a mechanic,
Like me.
one of the ways to know that your shock absorber, especially if it is a normal hydraulic type of shock absorber, is bad, is you can just sight the shock absorber. If you see any trace of oil, that's one of the first ways to know that the shock is gone, And another thing that could also cause that, just like TBO said, is that if the vehicle has been involved in an accident that affects the chassis, so if the chassis is not straight, it will affect the geometry of the vehicle. Sometimes if you enter into any bump, especially where the heavier, if it tends to tilt it or swerve it to one corner, so you might want to that's what they call chassis aligner today. You can align your chassis and to see if the chassis is actually straight or not.
Okay, so let's move on to the second question. The second question is coming from Frank, and Frank says, hello Autogig, I drive a Nissan Pathfinder 2009 model. It was showing service engine soon. I took it for service, but it's still showing the warning light of service engine soon. What can I do to clear this?
All
Patrick.
right. Thank you very much, Lanre and Frank. Every modern car has what they call engine oil wear counter, and the engine oil wear counter is connected to a warning light on the instrument cluster, which tells you that the oil needs to be replaced. And what kind of sign would you get? In most cases, you'll see a spanner. Once the spanner comes up or the spanner starts blinking on your instrument cluster, it means that it is telling you that it is due for engine oil change. Sometimes you'll see maintenance required or mains required for some other vehicle. It's telling you that your oil is due for replacement.